A lot of people have questioned whether the Dreadquake mortar is worth bringing, and I'm here to tell you that against certain factions, it certainly can be. It's a little bit expensive and vulnerable to counterfire, which is one of the reasons why you don't see it against a lot of factions, but the faction can't necessarily countershoot it very effectively or has very slow infantry, then it can be extremely effective. And today I'm up against the legendary Flying Taco himself, practicing for the Spring Championship, just playing some casual land battles, although the Spring Championship will be domination, of course, and we're going Coast versus Dwarfs in an Old West style open field shootout, except that they're zombies and evil dwarfs. Anyway, I've got Noctilus for my build here, 2 deck guns and 2 carronades, with lots of zombies to protect, mix of polearms, regular zombies, already getting blasted by that Dreadquake, and we come back to that very slow speed. A couple of animated hulks as well. A regiment of renowned handguns, the black spot here to protect the back line with their guns, and a little bit of anti-large armor piercing, and we've got some scurvy dogs and bats to harass the flanks. For Flying Tacos, Chaos Dwarfs, you can see although the Dreadquake has dished out an extreme amount of damage, it's also taking serious damage from the carronades, and I believe the deck guns are not even quite in range yet, just from the carronades already like half HP. But anyway, got a couple of fire glaives here. We've got 2 magma cannons as well, so very heavy on the artillery spend from Flying Taco. Got some bull centaurs to protect, and then yeah, these 2 elite infernal guards as well. Means that the rest of his build is pretty much all laborers. He does have Jetan the Black up in the sky here and a caster of death, which is a very interesting choice. I actually really like it against the vampire accounts, although probably fire is just straight up better for Chaos Dwarfs always. It still is an interesting choice, certainly. Anyway, or against Vampire Coast. Yes, anyway. You know what I mean. So, I'm going to try and get in range here, and so far, Taco really hasn't targeted the deck guns with the Dreadquake mortar so far, but I'm going to keep the health bars up and keep a wide view here. You can see it connects with the carronade, doesn't actually do all that much damage, but a couple of volleys from these deck guns and this thing is immediately broken. And I'm going to now switch targets because I think yeah, I think maybe give one more volley with these carronades to see if we can finish it off, or do I already switch targets? Yeah, I wanted to give one more volley, but I don't think they actually got one off, which could potentially be a pretty huge mistake. I figured this thing would shatter given how low its HP is, and the front line, I'm just attacking the laborers with these bats and dogs. Bats and dogs and bats and dogs. And anyway, yeah, just the low leadership of the laborers. These fast attack units can come in here and rout them, basically for free. I mean, it's like a 700 cost combination between these two, so not the cheapest thing in the world, but also draws a little bit of friendly fire there in the front line from the Dreadquake as it's fleeing. I didn't even think that was possible, but anyway. Yeah, I've switched targets to try and focus down the magma cannon already, but again, I am making a pretty huge mistake in not finishing this Dreadquake off. Taco also comes forward with the Demon Smith and throws that critical Reforge here, which is going to heal the Dreadquake. This Reforge ability obviously is usable on all the Kadai and the War Machines, anything that has that Hellforged attribute, which is certainly a valid way of doing things. But let's get in close for some cinematics as the Dreadquake comes back from route and is going to shoot behind it a little bit, do some friendly fire again to the laborers, but that's just fine. Meanwhile, the Bull Centaurs come forward and don't really have the best answer for them. The Bloody Reaver Depth Guard are in my build, but they're slow enough that I don't really have them in the right position, especially right now to defend against this, having to just block them with the animated hulks. But Jetan drops down, and between the Bulls and Jetan, he's able to shut down both of my deck guns very effectively. Carronades have also mostly been shut down at this point. Yeah, one of them has been completely shut down by counterfire from the magma cannons. So suddenly I was feeling initially very confident in my chances of victory here, but all of a sudden I realized, you know, very critical mistake in that the Dreadquake didn't shatter. Taco was able to heal it just that little bit to keep it from routing all the way off. And yeah, big mistake by me, obviously, but I've still managed to almost finish off this other magma cannon. Do a decent amount of damage to this third piece here, but still is not enough, and now I'm going to have to just chase down these Infernal Guard. I do have a lot of zombies left. Still got plenty of Melkos Mystifying Miasma as well, which I'm going to be using to good effect to damage these Infernal Guard over time. Got some summons here in the back line to try and tie up. I think that's the second Ross Moondial. But just desperately trying to finish off the Dreadquake at this point, kind of throwing in these Fell Bats who are going to get rear charged by Bull Centaurs. Not a great situation for them as they frantically flap their wings about. And I don't think they're even going to be able to finish off the Dreadquake there. They get it down to 39 HP. Let's keep its unit card up as we take a wider view of the battle here. Get down to 20. Dropping a bombardment there from Noctilus on these Infernal Guards. Basically just doing whatever I can to DPS them, you know, by whatever means necessary. That Melkoth certainly would be able to get them down if I have the time to do so. That being said, I've also been healing a little bit with, you know, some Invocation of Nehek, so I don't have that much magic to do so. The bats finally do finish off the Dreadquake Mortar. We'll check its value after the fact. I'm pretty sure it paid for itself. Maybe, you know, not in terms of raw damage, but certainly tactically it was quite useful. The Magma Cannons also are going to be very strong here. Nice. Purple Sun also hits the black spot just dead on. And does roll back over in this other direction, but even just that initial burst of damage is enough to pretty much finish them off, which is unfortunate. I really haven't been able to use their ammo at all, and like they would be super useful in this late game. You see them trying to get some shots on this Magma Cannon. A little bit of armor-piercing shooting. Yeah, doing even despite how much damage they've taken, another Invocation of Nehek on them just to try and keep them stable. Anything I can do to retain some capacity to shoot, as all my other shooting units have been shut down. Flying Taco, obviously a very strong player, has been doing a great job. An anti-large bonus to the black spot really only helps them so much here. They're burnt, they're flammable. They really don't have that great of stats at the end of the day, especially only 14 melee defense, so they're still going to take damage here, even if they would have been able to do damage to Jatan in combat. But he just peels right over, avoids them since they're slow zombies. Also going to net Bloody Reavers here. Just cackle as they get shot to pieces, so things fall apart pretty quickly once the Vampire Coast, my build, runs out of steam here. It's kind of to be expected. I mean, obviously not finishing off the Dreadquake was a pretty huge mistake. Definitely thought it would shatter, but it did not, so I paid the price there. And then Magma Cannons also punished me pretty hard. I don't know, I feel like it was pretty close. Close enough that maybe if I hadn't made quite so many mistakes, I potentially could have won, but I would say Taco's build is also probably not totally optimized for this matchup. It is interesting, though, that I think, like, if the Vampire Coast, similar to other factions, if they scale very heavily into Dwarfs, you can outshoot Chaos Dwarfs. It certainly is possible, and here I think I had an opportunity to, but I kind of just flubbed. But as we saw in yesterday's video, and obviously a different sort of situation in terms of the skill of my opponent, but yeah, if you go with, I don't know what my point is really here, but I think if you scale very heavily into missiles, then you leave yourself vulnerable to a rush, and I think if Taco would have gone with, like, a lot of Hobgoblin cavalry, maybe some sneaky gets to sneak into my backline, supported by the Centaur renders, he could have rushed me down pretty easily, honestly. My defensive tools weren't incredible here, so I was kind of expecting him to try and shoot me out, and almost ended up working out in my favor, but not quite. Yeah, Noctilus getting sniped out by Jatan here. Some people are offended by my pronunciation of that, but I'm going to continue to do it because it's fun, even though I know it's Jatan. That's just boring, right? So, anyway. Flapping about on a giant cow in the air. What do you want from me? It's definitely a fun one. A good game to Flying Taco there, and the Dreadquake does not quite pay for itself. I'll double check the value after this. It's not attached to the train car, so you don't need to get like 3,000 plus value with it, but still, tactically, it's quite useful. Just, you know, getting rid of the chaff of all of my zombies, pretty much. 169 kills, definitely very impressive. The Bull Centaurs also, again, I didn't have a great answer for. Hoping the Bloody Reavers would perform better, but I mean, without, like, Arnes's net or something, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to catch them, so maybe it would have been better to cut these guys and just take more hounds and dogs, or, hounds and bats, obviously. Although I will say the deck guns performed very well. The deck guns and carronades, I think, in tandem, again, if you scale very heavily into that, if the dwarfs try and outshoot you, that you will be able to blast them to smithereens, but it's a little bit risky to do so. I would say maybe mobility plus guns is a good way to start. Not really sure. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm not an expert in Vampire Coast by any means, but it's definitely an interesting matchup for Taco's build here. The magma cannons are generally very cost effective. Both of them pretty much pay for themselves. The fire glaives also survive until the late game. Very nice. And then Zhatan taking some significant damage, but doing some damage also. I like the Death Demonsmith Sorcerer too, even though most people probably go with fire. Get some good value out of that, certainly. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit that bell notification if you're not subscribed already. That way you get notifications when I upload new videos. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.